to this very exciting cook-along with Quorn. Welcome especially our fabulous guests, Suzie Lee, winner of Best Home Cook and owner of the most beautiful accent on television, and Nicola Ludlum-Raine, dietitian and mummy nutrition superstar. Welcome, ladies. Today, we're going to be making Suzie's especially adapted Quorn Mince Lasagna. Excuse me if I dribble while I'm talking about this, it's my idea of heaven. As you know, Netmums and Quorn have been partners for a really long time now. Any brand that allows parents like me to quickly and easily get delicious, healthy food on the table that's also planet friendly is a big win for us. And there's probably no other food brand that ticks all these boxes like Quorn. I'm also very partial to their sausage rolls, by the way. If you haven't tried one, please, like, run, don't walk. Whether your family are living meat-free 24/7 or you're simply trying to cut back on meat for health or climate change reasons, we love how easy Quorn make it for all of us to make one small swap in the right direction. So with no further ado, it's over to you, Suzie.
Hi everybody, my name is Suzie Lee and I won BBC's Best Home Cook this year. Mary Berry was one of the presenters along with Claudia Winkleman and Angela Hartnett and Chris Bavin. Then in August there, I got my own TV show called Suzie Lee's Home Cook Heroes in Northern Ireland, which you still can watch on iPlayer. So that was a lot of fun. I am a mummy of two, of a 5-year-old Xander and 2-year-old Odelia, Odie we call her for short. So yeah, super busy all the time and just love adapting recipes for quickness, and Quorn is one of the ingredients I would use. And then now over to Nick.
So hi everybody, my name is Nicola Ludlum-Raine. I'm a registered dietitian, so I qualified over 10 years ago now, and I split my time between the NHS, a local private hospital, as well as my media and brand work. So I do a lot of BBC Breakfast, ITV. I set up Nick's Nutrition to share healthy recipes and nutrition tips, and more recently in 2018 set up Mummy Nutrition after falling pregnant and giving birth to my now toddler Henry. I'm based in Yorkshire and I cannot wait to see Suzie's as well as your creations today, and of course sharing with you some of my nutrition tips.
Great, so are we going to start cooking?
Yeah, so
let's do it.
So everybody, you are going to achieve this. This is your Volcano Lasagna.
Wow.
So it can be as tall as you want and you can divide it up into smaller portions. Okay, so this is a dig-in family version, obviously. So you should have all your ingredients prepped, all chopped up. So what we need to do is get to your frying pan now and let's get started. So you'll need a little bit of oil in your frying pan and we can get started. And if you have not done your aubergine slices, you need to prep those first. So quite thin, and then you need to fry them off till they're kind of just soft. They can be slightly brown, but just soft. So then it just takes less time. That's what we're trying to do. Cut down time and make food prep so much easier and preparing good, nutritious food for your kids. So it's about that thin, which then once you fry it off, then you get that. So literally straight onto the pan and that's it, literally till they're soft. Put those to the side and then you get a mountain of aubergine slices. Okie dokes. Right, so let's get started. I'm going to turn on my old school skillet here because it makes cooking for you guys a lot easier. So I'm going to put a little bit of oil in. And you can use any kind of vegetable oil, olive oil. I'm using rapeseed oil, a local one. So just whatever you have in the cupboard is fine. Once that starts to heat up, then you want to add all of these in, okay? At this point, I would recommend adding a pinch of salt and a splash of water. What this does is yet again speeds up the whole process and just softens everything, and just everything is made quicker. Anything I do, I try to just speed things up. I have no time. I just literally, I'm so busy trying to get stuff done around the house and just get on with my accountancy work. And that's what I am, actually, an accountant. So yes, this is my sideline. So a pinch of salt, and then a splash of water. There we go. And if I can find my cooking utensils, and just give it a stir and just let them soften down. I'm going to put my lid on because it's quite noisy. So if you get to that stage, yeah, everybody's cooking away, fabulous, great. So then once those are softened down, that will take about 5 minutes. Then you should have your chopped up pepper. You could choose any pepper. It could be the green one, it could be the yellow, whatever you have, or you don't have to have pepper if you don't like it. Same with mushrooms. And then this is for a bit of fun. I'm putting a whole mushroom in for a bit of fun. Who can find the mushroom? So that's been quite fun for my kids, digging in, okay? And then at that stage, you also add the stock cube. So once this is softened, then we add these in as well. And after that step, people will need to get their soup blender ready, just to blitz this part of the ragu sauce. But if you don't have one, or you don't actually mind, or the kids don't mind it being chunky, then that's fine. You've chopped everything up to sort of like small dice, so it's fine. My kids don't need it blitzed anymore, but for the younger ones who maybe are still adverse to seeing color through the food, they'll be like, what is that? Then blitz it all up. They won't know.
I was going to say, Suzie, I love the number of different vegetables and colours in this dish, because I think everyone's heard of the 5 a day messaging. We should have 5 portions of fruit and veg, but you might not know that you actually need to have 30 different types of fruit, veg, whole grains, plant foods across the week. So in this dish, you're ticking off so many different varieties. It's fab.
Absolutely. And another cost saving and time saving tip is, if you don't have time to sit and chop all these vegetables, you can buy the frozen. There's quite a few of the supermarkets do a Mediterranean veg pack. Use that. That saves you time, money, and also just the prep of it as well. And some of them actually are flavored in basil oil or something like that. So, and they're cheap. Also, if you have a pack of 3 peppers and you only use one of them in the week, chop it up. Same with your onions, chop it up, put it in the freezer, and they're ready to go for your next meal, for your soup. This combination of the onions, carrot and celery, I always have wee portions in sandwich bags in my fridge ready to go, because they're great for soup bases, for my spaghetti bolognese, for my chilies. That's what I use. So without even thinking, my kids have already got 3 vegetables before we even start.
Yeah. I think it's fab. And I think sometimes people think that frozen veg isn't as nutritious as fresh. And actually it's quite the opposite, because they're flash frozen. They're frozen as soon as they're picked. So actually most frozen veg contains more vitamin C than fresh. The main thing is that you just don't overboil veg. So things like stir frying, steaming, even microwaving is a lot better than boiling your vegetables so that they basically turn to mush. We don't want that.
Absolutely. So I hope everybody is getting on well there. So my onions are starting to get translucent. So I'm going to give it another 2 minutes of cooking, and then I will be ready to add in my peppers and my mushrooms then. So there you go, 5 vegetables already. Never mind the aubergine we're going to be layering it with, and then you've got the corn as well. So it's we're ticking all the boxes here.
Suzie, shall I answer a quick question now whilst we're waiting for the veg to cook down?
Yes.
Fantastic. So yeah, thank you so much for all of your questions. I've got 10 here. I'll answer one quickly now whilst we're waiting for the veggies to cook. But somebody said, as a homeschooling family, it's really important for us to incorporate healthy eating into our weekly lesson plans. Do you have any resources that could be of use? And I think that this is great for anybody who wants to support their kids in what healthy eating means. I will pop these links in the chat box, but the Change for Life website is fantastic, full of food facts, healthy recipes, information on activities. You've got First Steps Nutrition, which has got some amazing information for the early years. They're an independent public health charity. The BDA Food Facts, so British Dietetic Association Food Facts, has got an amazing one for healthy eating for children. The British Nutrition Foundation as well has got some fab tips, and also the Infant and Toddler Forum. So I'll put those 5 links in the chat box if you want to know more about healthy eating at home.
Perfect. Okay, so my vegetables are nice and soft now. Add in, right, so remember to take out the large mushroom, the magma mushroom, as I've said in the recipe. Throw in your chopped up mushrooms, your chopped up peppers, and also your garlic. Another tip that I like to would share with you is that I use garlic granules a lot, because yet again, sometimes you just don't have time to peel them, and this gives the same hit. So if you use 1 teaspoon is equivalent of a large garlic clove, fresh, crushed, or you can also flash freeze your garlic minced up. If you have too much of it, yet again, sometimes you find a shriveled up garlic bulb in the back of your fridge. So why not then chop that up and then have it ready to go for the future. But garlic granules and onion granules are kind of a staple in my cupboard to just quicken things up and give that kind of extra flavor. Add in then your stock here and just let it dissolve and just smoosh it around.
I just thought, and seeing as they were cooking with Quorn today, the Quorn website's got some really nice healthy recipes as well. So if you love this dish, obviously you can make it again, but I'll send you through some other recipe ideas as well.
Yeah. So this is obviously the base of my spaghetti bolognese as well. So it's really, really easy to make. You don't have to make it in a lasagna. Add it to pasta. And if you're making this, if you don't like aubergine, use courgettes instead, or just use pasta sheets. They save also time if you boil them before, so they're al dente. You can just boil the pasta sheets whole, or else you can buy the fresh ones that are just as easy to get. Now add in your herbs, your oregano and your basil. And you'll now be able to smell all the lovely kind of aromas. It's that kind of Italian kind of smell. I'm going to give this a couple of minutes yet again to just sweat down. If it's burning or it's catching too much and browning, yet again, add another splash of water and that will just help sort of control the temperature and not burn your vegetables.
Shall I jump in and answer another question? Excellent. I was going to answer one on constipation, but I'm going to wait until the end to answer that one whilst we're cooking. So somebody said, what are the health benefits for my family to swap a meal over to a non-meat alternative? So in this case, Quorn. Well, I think what we want balance across the week. And ideally, you don't want to be having more than 500 grams of cooked red meat a week, which is about 70 grams a day. So that is about 2 rashers of thick bacon, 1.5 pork sausages, 1/3 of an 8-ounce sirloin steak, 5 tablespoons of mince, or half a large burger. So if you do swap 1 or 2 of your traditionally red meat based dishes over to Quorn, you'll be less likely to exceed that weekly limit. You'll be getting more fiber, less saturated fat, but it's a complete source of protein. And this is in addition to the fact that it's a very sustainable food source when it comes to things like land and water use, as well as your carbon emissions. And plenty of your Quorn and meat alternatives you can find in the freezer section. So it's helpful to reduce waste and also to cut down on costs too.
Perfect. Right, so my vegetables are nice and soft now. Get your soup blender mixer at the ready. I do apologize, this is going to be very noisy for you, so mute me or sort of like turn me off for a second. I'm going to now blitz this so that it goes into a very thick kind of soup.
I'll answer another question whilst we're blitzing. So somebody said, my problem is how to stick with healthy foods so that you don't feel tempted with something that's not so healthy. So my answer would be to try and reframe how you view foods. So there's no such thing as healthy and unhealthy foods. What matters is the portion size and the frequency in which you eat it. For example, 2 biscuits with your coffee isn't unhealthy, but a packet of biscuits over the day could be, especially if you're doing this on a regular basis. And equally, 1 piece of fruit a week isn't healthy, but 5 portions of fruit and veg a day is, so a portion being a handful. I'm also quite a fan of the 80-20 rule. So if you're eating healthy whole foods for the majority of the time, so 80%, it's okay to indulge in foods which perhaps aren't as nutritious. we want to avoid this black and white thinking, so we must only eat healthy whole foods all of the time, because that's just not needed and it's not very sustainable in the long term. And I think my final tip regarding healthy eating would be to change your eating environment so that the healthy choice is the easy choice. So keep a fruit bowl out on the side. Don't keep your biscuits next to the kettle, because that encourages mindless snacking. So place any foods that you want to be eating less of out of sight towards the back of the cupboard, like your chocolate cereals towards the back, your oats, your things like Weetabix at the front, which are much higher in fiber. So out of sight, out of mind. Yeah, so that was a great question.
Okay, so if you have gone through that noisy stage, we can now get on to the star of the show. You've now got this thick kind of soup. We're going to toss the corn in just to give it a coating, and it just will start to absorb all the lovely flavors of your minced up kind of blitz vegetables. So off you go.
Shall I jump in with a quick question here?
Yes, go ahead, because I'm going to keep starting this.
So another question that came in was, what foods and snacks should we keep buying to keep our food shopping costs down? So I think, as Suzie said, you've got to go frozen. So it's cheaper, frozen veg, frozen fruit, especially berries, minimal prep. It's got a similar nutritional profile to fresh, and it helps to reduce food waste. So I love adding things like frozen blueberries to a smoothie or to porridge. I think tinned fruit in juice rather than the syrup is great. You can mix it with plain yogurt for a great source of calcium and a healthy dessert. You can make your own snack bars. So if you look at the hashtag Mummy Nutrition Snacks or Nick's Nutrition Snacks, simply by combining oats, grated apple, a bit of honey and a bit of spread, you can create a really nice healthy flapjack bar at minimal cost. And also it's something quite fun to do during lockdown when we can't go out and about. And also your cheaper protein options. So tins of lentils, baked beans, things like your Quorn, your frozen and tinned fish are often a lot cheaper than things like fresh meat and fresh fish. So they would be my top tips on keeping the food shopping cost down.
Perfect. So once the corn is completely coated in the thick sauce, you can now add in your tin of chopped tomatoes. So have that ready and just toss that in. And then 3 tablespoons of your tomato puree. Yet again, I no longer measure things out because I can just tell how much by squeezing it out.
I've got a great view of the gallery view of how everyone's getting on, and I keep on seeing Morag's dish, which is fab. Everyone's got the blenders out, going into the spice cupboards.
Excellent. And at this stage, I would add a good pinch of pepper. I just always like pepper. I always think it balances everything. So just give a good pinch of like ground pepper. It could be white pepper or black pepper. White pepper is slightly spicier and more pungent than black pepper, but it's up to you, whatever you have in your cupboards.
And I was going to say before, so regarding cooking oils, I always get asked about this. Rapeseed oil and olive oil are 2 of the best because they're really high in unsaturated healthy fats. And a simple trick is that if it's lighter in colour, then that's good for cooking. It's more heat stable. If it's darker in colour, like the extra virgin olive oil, then although that's good at low temperatures, it is perhaps more suited to things like salad dressings. So if you're cooking at high temperatures, go for the refined, the yellow one, either olive oil or rapeseed oil. But if it's for salad dressings, that's the extra virgin olive oil.
Right, so you can now just put the lid on this and let it simmer away at a very low heat, because we're going to now move on to the cheese sauce. So I'm just going to put my lovely old school skillet to a side, let it bubble away, and then we're going to make the cheese sauce. So this will give it time for the corn to just absorb those flavors, and then just make a really lovely ragu sauce. So bear with me. I'm going to rejiggle everything on my table here. So I'm going to mute myself because I'm going to be clattering away. So Nick, do you want to jump in?
Super. And yes, so I was going to jump in a bit about salt. So obviously adding a pinch of salt in cooking is absolutely fine. It helps to bring out the flavors. I would just say, if you're going to add it in cooking, avoid adding it at the table. If you love your salt, you can gradually cut down. And believe it or not, so the government over the past decade or so have been gradually reducing the amount of salt in our bread, really slowly, because if you suddenly take out salt, you might notice it, but if you do it very gradually, then your taste buds adapt. So things like Suzie said, the black pepper is amazing, things like garlic, paprika, tomato puree. Adding in these flavors instead can help you to wean off salt, but not forgetting the fact that 75% of salt is already in the foods that we eat. So things like crisps, salted nuts, ready meals. So if it's red on the label, you don't want to be having it too often. So go for more greens and ambers when it comes to salt. So that would be my tip. And by the way, if you've got any other questions as they crop up, I can either answer them now or when your lovely lasagna is in the oven. So I'm going to answer a quick question. So somebody said, how much Quorn can you or should you eat a week? Should you have a limit or does it not matter? I'd say there's no real limit, but because it's fairly high in fiber in comparison to things like meat, it's probably best that you increase your intake gradually, and also consider what you're serving with it. So if you're having a really fibrous meal with lots of veggies, lots of Quorn, and you're having that maybe once a week, rather than going 5 times a week, maybe have it twice a week, then 3 times a week. And also remember that balance and variety is the spice of life. So include lots of different proteins across the week, you know, Quorn a few times, maybe meat a couple of times, fish a couple of times, and then things like lentils and beans. So variety is key to getting everything that you need.
Perfect. So if you have now set up your station, new pot for your cheese sauce, you need your butter and some plain flour. That's to make your roux, to thicken it. And then we're going to add milk and then cheese. And then a little bit of salt and pepper just to, you know, just to season and balance it out. And then Nick is going to obviously talk about alternatives that you can do if you are dairy intolerant, lactose intolerant as well.
Cheese is fairly low in lactose anyway, but if you wanted a dairy-free alternative, there are dairy-free cheeses. We were speaking yesterday, dairy-free cheese doesn't tend to melt that well, so you could use a white sauce instead. You can use dairy-free spread, you can use any dairy-free milk, things like oat milk might work. So you could easily swap this to being a dairy-free dish depending on your dietary needs. I think Laura's nodding, or she might be speaking to someone else. A thumbs up. Yeah.
Right.
So
your roux will look like this. It's kind of like a dough, and this is the thickener for your sauce. So this is what you're kind of aiming for, that it's kind of coming away, and the butter and the flour has made this kind of doughy kind of texture. Then you start adding milk a little at a time to thicken, you know, and loosen out this roux. Okay, so just slowly, gradually do it.
Suzie, somebody said, my sauce is extremely thick. Should I have added some water with the stock cube?
No, well, it should be really quite thick, because if we have too watery, your volcano is going to have a landslide. So it should be quite thick, unless it's to the point where it is like a brick. Otherwise, no, it should be absolutely fine. You can add a splash more water if you want to, and then taste it, because obviously adding more water to your sauce will compromise on the taste. So have a taste, and then you can season it. Sorry, I can't multitask that much by reading the comments as well, so sorry.
That's my job, yeah. So if anyone else has got any other questions or any difficulties whilst they're doing the cook along, let us know.
Do not give up at this stage. It will look really lumpy and probably, you know, it looks like a mess. Keep stirring, keep adding milk a little bit at a time. This is the most taxing part of this dish, I feel.
Shall I jump in and answer another question whilst we're making the sauce? Yeah. Okay. So I'll try and answer another quick question. So a quick question was, any hints or tips for sneaking vegetables into meals? Now, I am going to touch on a question at the end that, although it's fine to sneak in veggies, we do want to expose our children to the actual vegetable so that we don't encourage fussy eating. But you can, like Suzie said, you can blend lots of different cooked veggies into sauces. You can add a handful of spinach into smoothies. Get experimenting. So things like roasted veggies with olive oil, herbs and spices can be really delicious. I think I've been scarred from school. When you say carrots to me, I think of those awful diced cubed carrots that were like boiled to death. Whereas now I don't think that happens anymore. And finally, you can grate vegetables into porridge, pancakes, or even bread. So things like courgette, carrot cake, porridge. So there's some really good tips, but we still want to exposing our children to the actual vegetable as well.
Perfect. So if with the sauce you have now added everything and it's quite liquid, let it now sit and bubble away, because you want to cook through the flour in this sauce, because you don't want it to be raw. You are going to also cook it through in the oven, but it's nice to get the sauce at a silky stage now. Can I just jump in with obviously the vegetable things, sneaking them in? Yeah, we don't want to sneak them in. So what I have been doing with my kids gradually, I've brought them into the kitchen. That's why you will see on my social media, they're always cooking with me. So instead of me needing to blitz my vegetables now, my kids are chopping them. So then they're like, when they're sitting at dinner, they're like, I need this. And then it's really funny because I never thought it would come to the day where my son is just like, I need broccoli. I'm like, okay, you need broccoli. So he loves now that he has vegetables. He's like, Mommy, where's my vegetables? And it's really, which is now he wants spinach. He's 5. I know it sounds a bit strange, but this is how I've exposed my children to the vegetable scenario.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's about getting them involved in things. So can they join in with the meal planning? Can you talk about like where broccoli or spinach is grown? What does it feel like to touch? What does it smell like? And don't give up. So it's that repeated exposures. Keep trying again. And let's say if you've got 2 different vegetables on the plate, make one of them a preferred or liked one, or even fruit, but add in that new food on the side. So it's not overwhelming. It's not 2 new vegetables. It's 1 preferred and 1 new one. And also role model. If you're eating it, then your children will be more likely to eat it too.
Absolutely. So if your sauce is now starting to get quite nice and thick, it's time to add in your grated cheese. I have chosen mature grated cheddar because it just has a more intense flavor. So you need to use less of it. So that's where some of the times you can actually, as much as you think it's too strong, but when you put a small amount in it, it goes a long way.
I think another tip actually to get Henry to eat food, because let's say my toddler, sometimes I know that I'll make him a dish that he loves and he'll just point blank refuse to eat it. So what I do is I get one of these teddy bears and I say, oh, does Teddy want some? And then as soon as Teddy pretends to start eating it, Henry wants some. So yeah, that's a little trick that helps us as well.
Brilliant. And then I'm just going to season with just another bit of black pepper. I know with obviously making the sauce, I don't actually need any more salt, because the mature cheddar has actually it has a kick and is slightly salty. So I'm only adding some pepper to this sauce. So I've got a nice kind of thick sauce now. Yet again, if it's slightly lumpy, do not panic. It can still be used. It is absolutely fine. And the lumps actually will bake out pretty much when you have it all into your layers of your lasagna. So do not worry, lasagna isn't that pretty as a dish, so that's why we've made it into a volcano, to make it super fun. Okay, so my sauce is now ready. I'm just going to reset up this and get my dish ready for compiling everything. So next stage you need is your sauce. Of your cheese sauce, your corn ragu sauce, then your sliced aubergines, your dish, and then we'll move on to decorating it at the end. But I'm going to mute myself. Nick's going to take over again, and everybody can set up.
Excellent. Yeah, so whilst you're setting up, oh, actually, I've just noticed another question. It says, can this be made in advance and put in the oven, delayed till the kids are ready to eat it? And someone says that they were going to ask the same. So yes, Suzie, you can make this in advance and then put it in the oven when it's dinner time.
Absolutely. So I had made one in advance last night, put it into the fridge actually, and baked it off this morning so you could see it in its glorious state before we started there. So yeah, it can be. It can also be frozen, which is great. So in that whole state, we're obviously into smaller portions, and it's ready to go, and it's done. You've got meals ready to go.
Excellent. So I think I'll cover actually a question that we've kind of touched on. Said, my middle child is quite a fussy eater. I can't even get him to try a lot of new things. Do you have any hints and tips on hiding veggies or persuading him to try something new? So as we said before, you definitely need exposure. So if a broccoli is in a sauce, you also want to put maybe steamed broccoli or roasted broccoli on the side. And don't be put off because it might take many repeated exposures before a child readily accepts it. Make it fun. So just like we're doing today, Suzie's lasagna volcano is packed with veggies, but it's fun. So things like making smiley faces with vegetables on a tortilla pizza. Like I said, exploring with your children. So, you know, what does it smell like, feel like? Consistency. So every day it's something new alongside of preferred food. And also don't hierarch or place an earning potential on food. For example, never say you can't have dessert if you don't eat your peas, or you can have ice cream if you eat your carrots, because that creates like dysregulation, and a child starts to think, oh, so biscuits are a better food, and I shouldn't be wanting to eat my peas. And finally, like, take the pressure off, you know, avoid any pushing or, you know, just eat it. They will get there eventually.
Okay, so the next stage is obviously getting your dish. It could be a rectangle, it could be any baking dish. I've just tried to make it fun with finding a round one. So yeah, and all we're doing is doing the corn ragu sauce. Then we're going to put the round of the aubergine on top, a little bit of the cheese sauce, and repeat. Just keep repeating. So I do about 2 layers that touch the sides. And then I just start going in. So literally then putting the aubergine slices like further into the middle. So then you're just stacking it up into like a cone shape. But you'll see the process when we're doing it. Do not worry if it's not beautiful. It is fine. It is for a lot of fun for the kids to find. And we're going to stick in the little mushroom as well. So off we go. So sauce at the bottom first, the ragu, the corn ragu sauce here. I tasted my sauce there, so I was really happy with it. But yet again, have a wee taste now. It's fully cooked, your corn mince ragu sauce. You may want a little bit more pepper or seasoning, or even maybe you want more oregano or basil. Some people just like that kind of flavoring more. So go ahead, you add that in. Right, so that's one layer. And then I'm going to place the aubergine slices.
And Natasha said a comment. She said, I'm hoping this helps my sensory child try lasagna, as volcano sounds so much fun.
So you can go mad with your aubergines, or you can just be, as I've just done, one layer, but you can overlap them. You can put a double layer. It just depends. Your aubergines could be humongous, genuinely, or they could be quite tiny. So just make it stretch. And yet again, use courgettes or the pasta sheets, whatever you have. You know, this is a really flexible recipe. Okay, then we're going to put a little bit of cheese sauce on top.
I'm so jealous that everyone gets to eat this at lunchtime. I haven't been cooking along. I'm gonna have to make it tonight.
Yeah, well, thank you for being the host. Thank you for talking through. So yeah, so then literally, as you can see, it's just kind of drizzled over just to coat the aubergine slices, so it's not swamped in it, because yet again, if we start stacking and put too much liquid or runny sauce, it will, you'll have a landslide and we'll have a collapsed volcano. Okay, and then now I'm going to repeat again, so put the Quorn mince sauce at the bottom. Okay, so yeah, so just covered that layer, and then the aubergine slices again. And this is very fun to make with the kids. My kids really like making this because it's so tactile, and it is a mess, but it's a lot of fun. So they're digging in, and the aubergines are never in a uniform shape, but it's all part of it. And so they kind of did at the very start going, what are these? But they've put it in, and they've said they've made it, so they really enjoy eating it then, because they tell everybody, I made my dinner. And they're so proud of that. So that's what I think is really lovely about it, because my kids have now really embraced the cooking with me, and they're enjoying it. More sauce.
I think, Suzie, you mentioned speed, and I think that's one of the benefits of Quorn, because it cooks so quickly, and you don't have that, oh, is it cooked, is it not cooked, yeah, debacle.
Absolutely. So I'm just going to do another layer now of the Quorn. Right. So at this stage, I'm going to start building the base of my volcano. So I will do this and show you that I'm going in a little bit from the edge. So I'll try to angle this so it's easier for you to see. So I've come in a little bit, so it's not right to the edges. So I'm just obviously just trying to build this up, because obviously if I had the aubergine right to the edge, then, you know, it's going to be a really fat, dumpy kind of volcano. So bring it in a little bit, then put a little bit of the cheese sauce, not as much as normal. And then we're just going to keep stacking. So I'll have about 2 the same size of that layer for stability. And then I'll shrink it again for 2 layers, and then shrink it again, and then we'll get to the top. Sounds technical, but it really isn't. Just think about, like, you're building a sandcastle. Exactly. Just think about building a sandcastle.
Brilliant. Everybody looks very busy. Can we get a thumbs up? Is everyone building their volcano? Hooray! Amazing. And this dish, Suzie, if everyone doesn't eat it all tonight, can you pop it in the fridge for several days and reheat it at another time?
Absolutely. This is, yeah, I've had it for leftovers maybe 2 days in a row. It's safe right up to even 4 days, just as long as it's kept in the, you know, a regulated fridge.
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely, you can keep it. Yet again, you can have it cooked and frozen, and then you can reheat it, you know, from frozen as well. So that is the beauty of these kind of dishes. They're quick, and they're highly nutritious, and you can have them later if you don't want to eat all of it now.
Yeah, I think a big tip that I always say is cook once, eat twice. So if you're making something, make more of it so that you can have it for lunch the next day. Most of us are working from home, so you can heat it up or have it for leftovers the following day. And it just takes that pressure off. It's only one lot of food prep. So I think that's a really good tip. And out of curiosity, Suzie, do you own a food temperature thermometer, or do you recommend people use them?
Yes, I do have one. I have them for like baking and stuff like that, but I use them obviously for meats as well. I know at what temperature, and, you know, by looking at my dishes that they're cooked. But yes, there's all the guidelines are out there on the internet, and to find, you know, for safe cooked food, the temperature, you can probe it right in and know, and like if you put it in and it's 100 degrees, it's gonna be fine. You're gonna be able to eat it. Everything is going to be killed off. So yeah, so I do recommend it because it's really handy for lots of different reasons in the kitchen, not just making obviously savory dishes like this, but baking, whatever you want to do. But it's a good piece of equipment to have.
And someone said, what about the mushroom we set to one side? Did I miss when we need to add it, please?
Yes, this is where I talk too much. So just lift up, I'm sorry, it's going to get messy, or use a spoon or a spatula. Dig in. You know where it is. Hopefully, well, turn your eyes to the little ones that are here and put it in. Just hide it. So I'm just going to lift up and literally hide it near the bottom. I have now placed that at the bottom of the dish. I've lifted up a couple of those aubergine sheets, and there you go. You don't even realize where it is. So thank you for reminding me. This is what happens. I talk too much.
It's looking really good. And when it's in the oven, we can do more of the Q&A. And obviously, if you've got any questions that crop up, then please just let me know. I was going to say that someone asked about swapping the red peppers for green peppers or orange or yellow, and that's perfectly fine. You might though find it interesting that red peppers have actually got more vitamin A, so we call it beta carotene, and more vitamin C than any other type, especially the green, and that's just because they're riper. So that's quite interesting, but really a vegetable is a vegetable, and as long as you don't cook it to death. And on that note, actually, I always get asked about organic, and from a nutritional point of view, there isn't really much evidence to say that there's any difference. The main thing is that you're buying fruit and veg, and if you can, wash it. So washing it is really effective to remove any residues. And if you're peeling things like an orange, then I wouldn't bother going organic. Obviously, if you've got the money to spend, please yourself, buy organic. I might buy organic when it's on offer, maybe bananas, but other than that, I don't bother.
I have built up my volcano. I know the tipping point for me. So this is how tall. It must be about 3-4 inches from my, base layer. So I know that if I go any higher than that, it has a tendency to sort of just die. Okay, but you will have some of this mince left over, so you just put it around the edges. Also, I've got 4 discs of the aubergine left, same as that. So what I'll be doing now is I'll put the rest of the corn sauce around the edges of your bowl if it's big enough, or the dish that you've got it. Otherwise, make mini ones. Get a ramekin, get a small other baking dish and pile it up, and then that'll be a lovely wee mini lasagna to have on the side for lunch or for whatever, or for your little one if that's all you have left. I have got about 4 tablespoons of this corn sauce left. I'm going to place it right around this dish, and then I'm just going to put these literally around. I've got 4 more of these discs. And that's it. And then we'll finish it off with the cheese sauce over the top and decorate it. So off you go.
How exciting. Eleanor said, my internet connection is awful today. So unexpected, but fingers crossed my volcano will taste good.
It will. It will.
I really wish that I was having this for my lunch right now. And you can serve it with garlic bread, a bit of salad on the side. And my tip would be that, let's say if you're having lasagna for dinner with garlic bread and salad, you can keep the salad on the table, but keep the lasagna part and the garlic bread in the kitchen. So if people want seconds, they can get up from the table and go get it, or you can get it for a child. But if you're partial to eating quite quickly and then nibbling whatever's in front of you, that can really help with healthy eating. So you're not mindlessly having seconds, you're purposefully having seconds. And for kiddies as well, I'd say don't overload their plates. They say, small bodies, small plates. So me portions, and kids are quite good at regulating the hunger levels. So they'll tell you if they're hungry, they don't need to finish their plate. You decide what they eat, and when they eat, they decide how much. It's just adults that it's the clean plate mentality.
Okay. Absolute everything. There's no corn sauce left. There's no more aubergines left. That is everything used up in this dish. So I have cheese sauce left, but this is the final effect of this. So you're going to pour it all over the volcano. Now be careful, because obviously if you pour it too quickly, it will slide. So just carefully from the top or around the sides, just drizzle it on and just coat everything.
We've got a comment from the joint family, says, mine looks like a hill with landslides. I suppose that sounds like a volcano.
Yeah. So if you see, can you see mine there?
That looks amazing. Oh wow, Lauren's is looking fantastic. Thumbs up. Can we see anyone else's? Natasha says this smells so yummy.
And it is.
Shot of Laura's, got more eggs on there. Joint families looks amazing. Javagma, that looks fantastic. That's a nice square volcano.
Amazing. That looks great. Wow, look at that. Okay, so then my final touches are slices of red pepper to literally for the lava flow. I know the things you make up for your kids to be entertained by food and to want to eat it. And now you've done it a couple of times, they want it all the time. But you know what? It's a lot of fun. So literally I've got alternate pieces of orange and red. You can do whatever you want. Don't be fixated on that has to be that color. It's just to give it that kind of eye-catching appeal. I'm just randomly placing these around. Okay, so. And then you have some diced, I said some diced, so this is for a round, you see. So it's literally as if like the volcano has erupted and this is all the sort of the molten lava sort of like bubbling down. So there you go. So you're literally just throwing it on so that it looks like the lava has dripped all the way down and it's bubbling away. I'd said about the red Leicester cheese, you can get that if you want, and yet again it's just to give it more effect. But if you only have cheddar, you can just use that, or you don't have to add cheese, extra cheese. We're a very cheesy family, so we love it. So I'm now just going to then yet again sprinkle more cheese, because once this cooks and bubbles away, the contrast of the colors then just makes it even more effective and fun to eat and look at.
And we did say that if you don't have red Leicester, you could always add a little bit of paprika to colour any normal cheddar cheese.
Absolutely, you know, and that would look really effective. Just even dusting it right round. And that's why if you don't have any extra peppers, that's the thing. If you don't want to use up an extra pepper, then use the paprika. I'm just yet again adding more vegetables and just more texture and more colour to this, but the paprika does the same.
And if you can't have cheese, you may or may not have heard of something called nutritional yeast. I've got some just to one side because my toddler can't have dairy, unfortunately. So if I add nutritional yeast, it adds a nice cheesy flavour. You're not getting the calcium or the iodine from normal dairy, but it is a good way of adding that flavour. And most vegan cheeses do actually add calcium. No one's asked about this, but everybody on this call, everybody, including kids, should be taking a vitamin D supplement. So the government advised that you take 10 micrograms of vitamin D. So my toddler now, he takes the recommended A, C and D for under 5s. If they're taking 500 mils of formula, they don't need it. But if you're an adult, 10 mcg of vitamin D every day. It might be within your multivitamin. The government recommend that you take it all year round at the moment because we're not spending much time outside, but definitely in the winter months, so October to April.
Perfect. Okay, and the final thing is this cherry tomato to put on top. So what this does when you're cooking it, it obviously is cooking through, and then it will get quite blistered, but at the very end when you take it out, it's a lot of fun. Everything is bubbling away, and once you put it on the table, you just press it and the tomato just juices out, and it's a lot of fun and just to play with, and the kids are like, wow, it's like a volcano. So there you go, guys, that is it, done and dusted, ready for the oven for about, oh wow, look at some of these creations, they're amazing. That's fabulous. That is cool. Oh my goodness, I can't wait to get a collage of this. Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm going to have to take a quick picture because I am loving these photos. They're class.
Yeah, everybody hold it up.
Hold it up, this is amazing. Brilliant. Let me just take the next page because there's two of you. Amazing, thank you so much, that is brilliant. Okay, I'm so impressed. I cannot wait for your final product. So now I just pop it into the oven.
Fantastic. And someone, Javagama says, it does smell yummy. My toddler's trying to break in. Shame I can't eat it. We've got we've got parent problems there.
Absolutely. So yeah, absolutely. So you can cook away, and I put this one in just to heat it up again. But yeah, as you can see, the tomato is ready, and literally you press it and then it just oozes out. Like literally that just flowed all the way out. So you'll see all the tomato juices come flying down, and the kids just love it. And it's just, as you can tell, it was a lot of fun to make. So I'm hoping you're going to really enjoy eating it as well.
And that's in the oven now for, is it 30 minutes?
About 30 minutes, you'll know if your oven's a really hot oven, then turn it down. You'll be able to see, I would always recommend middle to near enough bottom of the oven, because everything is actually cooked there, because your aubergines have been already seared. Your Quorn Mince sauce ragu has been cooked through. Your cheese sauce, that's why I made you also make it bubble away, because then you wanted the flour cooked. So every element is cooked. You use cheese. All you want to do is melt it, but you can make that obviously as the state it is, raw, and everything else is done. So technically it doesn't need maybe as long as that, but I just like that molten lava effect where literally when you take it out of the oven, it is bubbling right around the edges, and then the tomato's ready to pop.
Amazing. So everyone's in the oven. So now we can answer, I've got a few more questions that were pre-asked before, but if anyone's got any nutrition questions for me or any cookery questions, you've got Suzie, the expert. So please ask away in the comments. So I'll just go back to the questions list. And I'm going to answer the question about constipation. I'm going to do it now whilst the food is cooking and not in front of us. So the question said, our child has always had issues with her bowels. What can she eat or drink to help them to become more manageable? So my advice would be to try and ensure that your child is eating a balanced diet, so getting enough fluid, healthy fats and fiber too. So good sources of fat include things like avocado, olive oil, rapeseed oil, seed and nut butters, as well as full fat plain yogurt. Your fiber-rich foods include your fruits, your veggies, beans, pulses, your mycoprotein, which is found in Quorn, as well as whole grain cereals. And remember that fruit and veg count towards your fluid intake too. Always make sure though, like I said before, to gradually increase your fiber intake. And that just allows their digestive systems to get used to it, and always up their fluid intake at the same time. So things like prunes, pears, plums with their skin removed can be helpful. And alongside diet, you want to encourage regular physical activity and active play alongside good toileting routine, especially in toddlers and young children. And if you do have concerns, you know, so if your child has got loose stools or if they're constipated, always go and see your GP and take along a food, drink and symptom diary for about a week. And that will really help. So I'll break off to go to the chat. So Natasha says, what is your main go-to meal? So Suzie, do you want to answer that first? What is your main go-to meal?
Generally don't have one. I know it sounds really silly. We have so much choice in the sense that, it would have to be like, just thinking off the top of my head, I always have noodles. There's always noodles in the cupboard. There's always rice and noodles in the cupboard. My kids love those. So if I really was stuck and I couldn't really maybe even be like a really busy day, noodles would be a kind of a easy win for me. Noodles, and then I've always loads of veg. And if I don't have proper like broccoli or anything, I would wilt some spinach, and that would be my veg. And then I'd add things like, sweet corn, because kids love sweet corn, so I'd add that, and then a boiled egg, really simple things, but they're getting their protein through that as well, and their iron. But all of those things I would do, and then sometimes you have other bits and pieces, add that to the bowl, and some soy, some sesame oil, super delicious, and make a wee easy broth with that, whether it's through a chicken stock cube, a veg stock cube, just to give it that kind of kick. Add some spices like chili, and how quick is that? 5 minutes and you've got it cooked.
That sounds so nice. I think, so mine is always pittas, so toasted pittas with either lamb, chicken, Quorn burger, with loads of cucumber, salad, tzatziki, hummus, spinach. So yeah, literally me and my husband, like, what should we have for dinner? I always have pittas. So that's like a cheats chicken fajita. So it's an alternative. Someone else has just said, sorry to go back to the cooking time, but would 30 minutes be enough to heat through after being in the fridge?
Go with 40 minutes then. Sorry, I usually literally cook straight through. Yes, or you can bring it up to room temperature. Does that make sense? Yet again, the product isn't a fully meat-based product. So therefore it is part plant-based product. So therefore it's not going to have the same bacteria that can multiply through. So you could bring it up to room temperature and then cook it through at the 30 minutes. But yeah, 40 minutes then. But then I would then just watch that it doesn't burn. So therefore put tin foil over it just in case.
Excellent, thank you. So going back to the list of questions, someone said, is this lasagna a healthy alternative to normal lasagna? We've changed a few ingredients. So my son is allergic to red peppers and vegetable oil, so you're using green peppers and olive oil. And with this, we wanted to know, with allergies, would you advise to introduce them back into the diet or leave them out? So I would say, when it comes to personal advice, especially on allergies, definitely speak to your own doctor, consultant, or allergy specialist dietitian, because the advice always changes and it depends on what kind of reaction your children has. Like I said before, green peppers is a great alternative to red, but if you can have red, definitely include lots of different colors, because you're going to be getting slightly more vitamin A and C. And yeah, olive oil is fantastic. It's the basis of one of the foods that makes up the Mediterranean style diet, which is one of the healthiest diets on the planet. It consists of lots of fruit, veg, whole grains, a little bit of lean meat and dairy, but it's mainly those whole foods and veggies. This lasagna is packed with more veggies than a traditional one. It's got more fiber and less saturated fat, thanks to the Quorn mince. And I think somebody asked a question about calories. I'd say there's no need to calorie count. I think especially when it comes to kids, like I said before, they're really good at working out if they're hungry or if they're full. They're more in tune with their hunger and fullness cues. And actually, if you're having the full fat products, sometimes full fat products in comparison to low fat products can help us to feel fuller. I think the main thing is that you eat with intention, so you eat mindfully. So when your volcano dish is ready, turn off the TV, turn off your phone, put it to one side, eat at the table with a knife and fork. Remember to put your knife and fork down between mouthfuls and really make a meal out of a meal, because we've all done it. You'll be distracted eating and then you look down and your dinner's gone. So that's what can lead to overeating. So that would be my tip. And it's a great healthy dish. So I'll go back to the chat. So someone says, do you have any tips to stop teenagers snacking all of the time, even after a big meal? I mean, I would say, so first of all, assess the meal and work out, is it balanced? So have you got a balance of carbohydrates, protein, fiber, so your veggies, salad, and a little bit of healthy fats? Do they want more? And can always offer 2 courses. So have a main dish, they can have seconds, but then have a nutritious dessert. So my toddler, for example, has things like fruit and yogurt, or you could make a healthy version of an apple crumble. And that hopefully should help them to stop mindlessly snacking. Obviously, it depends on what they're snacking on. I quite like the mantra when it comes to snacks of protein and produce. So things like yogurt and fruit, hummus and carrots, dried fruit and nuts, cheese and apple. And then if they want a little bit of things like chocolate and crisps, they can have it, but they need to have it mindfully and not be grazing on it to feel full. They need to have it with intention. Would you add anything else to that, Suzie?
No, like, because my children eat all the time in that kind of sense, we're not grazers, but if it's the snack time, it is, as you said, fruit and yogurt. They love carrots and hummus, all that kind of stuff. And yeah, I will give them like crisps if they really, really want to, you know, on a really good day. But like crackers and cheese seem to really, I don't know, they just love building. For some unknown reason, they think this is really fun because they think, you know, because they see me eating a cheese board. So therefore they think they're being adults, and then adding a bit of fruit to that. So like a grape, you know, grapes and fruit, strawberries, and then a cracker, cheese. And my kids sort of seem to be sustained then and happy with if I give them that instead of something that's probably empty calorie like, that there's loads of comparisons there, but I'm not going to name anything. But they're like, for teenagers, I sort of think if they're hungry, give them, whether it is bread with peanut butter, you know, stuff like that, just so that it's nutritionally good, but also it's going to pack them full of like energy as well. Because they're, yes, peanut butter is a fatty kind of product, but it's actually really good for you, high calories, but it keeps you fuller for longer.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. So it's about trying to make the snacks as nutritious as possible, but also it's your house and it's your rule. So if you make a rule that actually they've got to eat all food within the kitchen, especially because, you know, you don't want crumbs and things going everywhere, then that's fine as well, because sometimes people eat out of boredom, so that might stop that. But teenagers do need more calories, they are growing. Things like a bowl of cereal before bed is actually quite good. Cereals are fortified, and then you're adding milk, which is a source of calcium, iodine, and protein as well. Paul Suzie has just said, my volcano is slumping down and bubbling over. Any advice next time I make this?
For the next time, a larger dish. Genuinely, I know it's just people don't, or just make it into a rectangular dish and then obviously mount it up. If you have large skewers, that's another way of just poking it in now. Even if you have 2 skewers and then poking it in, and then therefore that will balance. So use the skewer to sort of move the landslide back into the middle, and then use the other skewer to sort of anchor it back into place. Otherwise, it's a characteristic as well. Just pop the tomato back on top and away you go.
Fantastic. Yeah. And so Natasha says, my volcano is also bubbling everywhere. Haha, thank goodness I put a tray underneath. Next time I'm going to use a round bowl and reduce the water, I think. Laura has said, do you have any recommendations for bedtime snacks that may aid sleep? My son sometimes finds it hard to switch off at bedtime. Yes, I think when it comes to a snack, so combining that protein and carbohydrate really helps. So even if it's things like a bowl of porridge, because you've got the carbs from the oats, you've got the protein from the milk, or things like cheese and crackers. However, I think often people, they find it hard to switch off because of what they've been doing beforehand. So a solid bedtime routine is what I would recommend. So things like turning down the lights, trying to reduce screen time. Can they have a bath? So my toddler always has a bath, and as soon as he has a bath, he knows it's time for bedtime. And then things like reading a book instead of watching TV can help you to switch off. And that applies to adults as well. Often we're sat there scrolling on our devices, it's giving lots of blue light off, it's stimulating us, and then the news feed pops up and we're in tier 3 and we're thinking, oh no. And so it just gets your mind racing. So it's sleep hygiene. And also, can you have a healthy snack, you know, an hour or even 2 before bed? And And Paul updated, said just put a tray under mine now. So at least it'll be edible, whatever spills over.
Absolutely. No. I do about the bedtime routine. It's a routine, even as an adult, you slip into ways, and we're so addicted to our devices and everything, and it is the screen time that can affect. But the bedtime story, even if you can't have the bath, but even the pajamas, right? Pajamas, let's read a book. It doesn't have to be the longest book, it could be a really short book, or even a song. Like my kids love singing at bedtime, you know, Twinkle Twinkle, Baba Sleep, anything like that. That for them, they need those 2 songs at least before I'm allowed to leave the bedroom. So just something like that for them to associate. But no, my kids would eat either a bowl of cereal or porridge. That's what they would eat. They just are hungry kids. And that settles them, and whatever it does, it just calms them. You can actually see them relax when they're eating that last snack in the evening, whether it's the porridge or the cereal. So that for me works for my kids.
Amazing. Yeah, so my toddler might have crumpet and almond butter before bed with a glass of oat milk he has. So just going back to the question, someone said, I'm keen to learn more about healthy eating. Are there any tips on food to succeed in getting healthy? So I think my advice when you're getting healthy as a family would be to meal plan together. So decide what's going on your meal plan, what's going into your shopping list. How will you achieve your 5 a day? Can you eat more whole grains? How often are you allowing your high fat, sugar, calorie foods in? Make it fun. So can you try 1 new recipe a week or 1 new food a week? And can you cook and eat together as a family at least once a week? Like, I'm a realist. I'm not going to say every single day, you know, just try it at least once a week, and make it fun. So like, can you maybe grow some of your own fruits and vegetables in the garden or in pots? Even a little herb garden is a great way of exploring new tastes and to get children involved in cooking. And if you've got some basil or some thyme, you can think, well, what can we do with it? Can we add it to some vegetables? So that really helps with healthy eating. And also weekly challenges. So can you have some non-food based rewards for getting your 5 a day? So sticker charts and things like that. Or even if you've got a goal of hitting your 30 plant-based foods a week, what are you going to reward you with? Is it, you know, new makeup, or it's Black Friday at the moment? So rewarding yourself that way. But hopefully if you're eating better, you'll be feeling the benefits. So you don't need a non-food reward, but children might need them. So just going back to the comments, Hema Patel said, sorry, laptop crashed. It's all right. You're back now. Eleanor says, lava is all around the oven. Working volcano indeed. So perhaps maybe a tray underneath would be good if it's quite full.
Sorry, obviously my dish is quite large, and I never specify because everybody has a different dish at home, and I would never say you have to get this size of dish. Always make it to what fits your family, because you can split that dish very easily into 2 separate meals as well, because it's a very hearty, well, if you're a super hungry adult, 4, and then obviously 6, it can stretch out to that, especially if you're having sides such as the salad or garlic bread. And that's another reason why I have chosen and I've been using aubergine or courgette slices, because we are a carb family. We do love our carbs, and we love garlic bread. So if I just have pasta and that, you know, you're very full very quickly. But also I'm now adding in an extra vegetable. So guys, I have made one, or I have got one I made earlier. So mine is actually now ready. It is not full time for everybody else, but I have one. So shall I produce it? Are we ready? Yeah.
I'm so excited to see this dish.
Oh, and my glasses are all steamed up.
Oh yeah, I normally wear glasses.
So it is completely bubbling over. The tomato is blistered, and you can see the lovely red and orange lava streaks. This is actually molten lava. It's roasting. So if everybody is watching, and I hope to goodness this does works every other time, but I'm going to press down, and let's take a deep breath, please work. And oh, it's running down this side. So watch this bit. So yeah, so you'll see the kids, and then look, all the juices of the tomato have got And there you go. There's your lava, your real lava. And there you go. It's quite fun to make, and it's really tasty, guys. So I hope you've enjoyed making that. Yeah.
That looks amazing, Suzie. And thank you so much for talking through it. Does anybody want to jump on and say anything? Or Natasha said, well, that made me go, whoa.
Thank you.
Yeah, it looks amazing. Yeah, so are there any other questions for Suzie or for me? You'll have to send us, if you're on social media, Instagram, you'll have to send us a picture. If you Google like Suzie Lee, I think you come up.
Or else just Suzie cooking the books. It sounds strange, but I'm actually an accountant. That's my day job. That's what I actually do. So that's why I'm saying Suzie cooking the books. It's a bit of fun.
I did wonder that, and then I'm just at Nick's Nutrition. So we've got some comments. Laura says, looks great, can't wait to eat mine, it smells lovely. Anushka, really cool, can't wait to show the kids when they're home, it's brilliant. Rachel says, my daughter is stood at the oven waiting for it to be finished. Ellen says, looks amazing, can't wait to see what the kids and hubby think later. Hema says, mine doesn't look as good, but does smell good. Rachel says, looks lovely, and it's been nice to take part. Natasha, thank you very much, really enjoyed this. Steve said, Megan loved making this. She is eating bits in between. Eleanor says, looks incredible. Steve says, it smells delicious. Charlotte says, thank you so much, we've really enjoyed this. So thank you so much. Oh, and Amy has just said, tag Quorn_UK and at Netmums if you post it on social media. So Quorn_UK and at Netmums, it's in the chat, as well as me and Suzie. Sian says, thank you so much. Joint family, my 7-year-old is making this. Steve says, oh, Stevie's Donna. We're getting a bit confused now. And Natasha says, hope Netmums will do more of these with various people being so great. And yeah, just lots of thank you, and they'd love to do it again. So it's been a huge success, Suzie, well done.
Well, thank you so much. I'm just writing a wee message to say thank you so much for everyone taking part. It has been great.
Yeah, fantastic. No, and I've really enjoyed it. It's always nice to hear what questions people have got. And it's always nice to see real faces as well, because when you do most of your work on your phone, it's very one-sided, one-dimensional. So it's really nice to see real people. Obviously, I'm just working from home at the moment, so it's nice to see people. Yeah,
absolutely. I think when you crave other adults, I love my husband dearly, but when you crave other adult interaction, thank you for letting me both be part of this.
It's not like work, this Suzie. We've really enjoyed it. So yeah, everyone's saying thank you, they've really enjoyed making it, and thank you for including us, and it's a great dish. And yeah, and everyone's looks amazing. So happy eating for your lunch.
Absolutely. And don't forget to send us pictures, really want to see them.